Stormgate!
Playing Stormgate makes you feel like your beach plans just got ruined by inclement weather, but instead of rain and beaches, it's demons and human civilization. Stormgate is an attempt at resurrecting the long-deceased genre of real-time strategy games by sewing it and some MOBA mechanics together, and this Frankenstein creature was created by Frost Giant Games. The story is this. Basically, there were a couple of guys who were up to no good, causing trouble in the neighborhood. After one little portal breach, humanity got scared and didn't get sent to live with its auntie and uncle in Bel Air, but instead mostly died horrible, brutal deaths from the invading demonic forces and had their cities razed and were reduced to fleeting resistance groups scattered across the planet fighting for their very survival. Later on, the story does get a little more interesting with what happens after the invasion, but mostly it's just a generic sci-fi story of humans' home planet being invaded by either aliens, demons, or insert other thing here.
Why wait?
Currently, there is no controller support, and I don't really understand why someone would want to play an RTS game with a controller if mouse and keyboard is available. It's literally just inferior, and those people are somewhat strange. Anyways, here's the menu settings. Wow, this is taking a while. Maybe you should take this time to go down and hit the subscribe button. Stormgate is only available on Windows and GeForce Now, and I didn't see anything on Google about if it's coming to consoles anytime soon. The graphics are decent. It's like a step above StarCraft 2 and a little tiny bit better than Halo Wars 2. Things just pop a bit more and there's little particle effects happening all the time to liven up the atmosphere, like the sand blowing in the wind. The system requirements are a little on the higher side, with the recommended card being a 2060 RTX and an octa-core 3GHz processor. It only requires 15 gigs of storage as of right now, so that's cool. There is, however, only like 6 campaign missions currently, so its size is likely to change considering it's still an early access game. The gameplay flow is similar to every single other RTS in existence. You constantly pump out worker units while gathering 2 resource types, Luminite and Therium, one of which is required for basically every unit and building, whereas the other resource is used for higher tier units and upgrades. You build buildings, upgrade units, make units to counter and fight the enemy units. Not much is different here. However, allegedly pretty soon, maybe in October, 3v3 PvP will come out and it's going to be focused more on hero units, which I'll get into later. And there's going to be a different type of win condition aside from just destroy all enemy buildings to win. Some speculate that it's going to be similar to a MOBA, but there's no concrete information yet. The campaign mode shakes up the gameplay a little bit, with one mission having you just control your hero unit and go into a tomb to fight some monsters that shoot little purple things at you that you need to dodge, and it feels kind of like Diablo or a MOBA. But then there's some missions that take a more traditional generic base building approach to RTSs, but with a twist like this mission where there's tornadoes and lightning strikes happening that can blow your units up on the way to capture points if you're not paying attention. The game is trying to combine RTS and MOBA, and I'm here for it. Hopefully they can make it successful, because I've always wanted a new game that does this concept well, as I'm an avid fan of both MOBAs and RTSs. It's an RTS game, so all the generic unit stances are there: hold position, attack, move, patrol, etc. There's even capture points: walk up, slaughter the dudes, and take it over to gain bonuses like heal over time if you stand next to it. The biggest difference in this game is the hero units that each have their own ability set. The main hero you have is Amara, which is the daughter of the guy in the first cutscene, who died, and she's all grown up and badass now. She has a blink ability that allows her to cross normally uncrossable terrain or to escape hairy situations where she gets surrounded or something. Or maybe you want to use it in combination with your other ability that damages all enemies in an area around you to blink in the middle of a big group of dudes and then light them up from the inside. She's got an ability that makes her auto attacks deal more damage and bounce to nearby enemies, and then she has an ability that makes her go invisible and leave a clone behind, taunting all enemies to attack it for 5 seconds. The gameplay and mechanics don't feel as smooth as a traditional MOBA like League of Legends. I don't know, the movement just doesn't feel as precise and responsive or something. It's hard to describe, but League of Legends does movement and abilities really smoothly and well, and I've yet to play a MOBA or RTS where it's as satisfying to dodge a skill shot or pull off some crazy mechanical play as League of Legends. There are 3 playable races: the Vanguard, which are humans, then there's Infernals, which are demons, and Celestials, which are like angels or something. I didn't spend much time learning the Infernals or Celestials because, to be honest, I tried to play as the Celestials in a multiplayer match, and their gameplay seems wildly different from the Vanguard, which was all I learned how to play because you play as them in the campaign, and I did not want to spend 10 multiplayer matches learning them. It's safe to say, though, that each race has a different and unique gameplay style, and different units. There are about 50 unique units for you to learn and use in the most effective way possible, some of which are the Vulcan, which is a big robot guy with a gun that can dash forward about 3 inches. There's Healy McHealerson, which will heal damaged allies, the Carrier from StarCraft, which you can produce bombers inside of, and then politely ask them to commit a casual war crime by carpet bombing the enemy. There's Siege Tanks from StarCraft, which enable siege mode to attack farther and with splash damage. Or Hornets that can shoot and lay sky mines to catch your enemies slipping if they try to chase you and not micro properly. Or what about the Graven, who are basically ghosts that are stealth outside of combat, and they can take over enemy structures, throw sticky bombs, and blink to a location. There is a co-op mode, which is a 3-player PvE experience which is focused on replayability, customization, and team gameplay. Basically, the enemy attacks in waves of assorted assholes for you to kill, and they come from different places. There's 1v1 where you can go and get clapped and rage quit over and over because you didn't look up any sort of guide and had no idea what the proper build order is. Until you ask your opponent, who actually gives you some decent advice, then use his advice to do slightly better, but inevitably still get your cheeks clapped. And lastly, you can make or join custom games to fight a combination of other players and AI. You can join multiplayer games through Steam invites or custom games, and there's matchmaking for the 1v1 mode. You can buy new heroes, which is kind of pay to win if they're just better. Then, there is literally one cosmetic, which is this rabbit that looks like it's strung out on crack and may potentially have PTSD after watching its owner get slaughtered in the demonic invasion. Surprisingly, I didn't run into any glitches playing this game. The good thing about this game is actually a double-edged sword. It's an RTS game, so by nature it's going to have a high skill ceiling and a lot to learn. Depending on how much time you have and how much you want to play this game, that can be a good thing or a bad thing. Once you learn it all, you can have a lot of fun with this game. If you don't want to spend the time to learn, well, the game is going to suck because you're just going to lose over and over. Overall, Stormgate is another RTS that's going to require you to put in a few dozen hours into it before you have even a chance of competing with the regulars who play this game. There's a huge variety of units for you to play with and explore, and fighting over control points forces you to think a lot, like, oh, if I send my guys here to fight over this control node, the other guy might try to attack my base or try to take this control node over here, so I should make sure I have enough people guarding it, etc, etc. 3 playable races as replayability and a good amount of gameplay variety, and the skill ceiling to this game is real high. The story is kind of boring. I found myself wanting to die rather than watch the cutscenes, as I just wanted to get on with it, but I needed to watch at least some of them to understand the story and record enough content. Gameplay, mostly good. Story, not so good. And there's only like 6 campaign missions. If you plan on playing the game for the story, don't. Just play the multiplayer. If you can sink the time to learn it and get good, it can be fun. On our patented 0 to 1 scale, we rate this game a 0.73 out of 1, mostly because the story is so boring and it's literally the sci-fi cliche of some scientists build a portal, then uh-oh, they lose control of it and some bad guys come and invade them. If you like this no bullshit review of Stormgate, please introduce that sub button to your Uber Micro by clicking it over and over, but make sure it's an odd number of times. Clap the cheeks of that like button, and tell us a story from your youth in the comments. Thank you, good night, and don't forget to wipe.